Okay, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit here because it would really probably be easier to just type this out, but I thought I'd try something new and my eyes are killing me from staring at the computer screen. So I'm just gonna video this real quick here in the few minutes I have left on my PLC. So talking about teacher leadership and how teachers can become leaders, I learned there are so many different ways, from the informal of just sharing and collaborating with other teachers, to the formal leadership roles as a curriculum coach or so forth. And one thing that struck me is the need for teacher leaders, both from within the profession and from the outside of the profession. Like, why do we need teacher leaders? And I thought it was really interesting, and this was from Teacher Leadership, from the Center of Teaching Quality. It said that teaching has been referred to by researcher Charlotte Danielson as a flat profession. The dearth of roles in which teachers can grow and extend their knowledge and practices beyond the classroom while still having the option to engage closely with student learning can lead to dissatisfaction and flight from the profession, especially among those who crave additional intellectual and career rigor. These issues in turn can impact school culture negatively. High turnover rates coupled with burnout among those teachers who do stay make for a challenging environment in which it is difficult for any teacher to feel supported, secure, or empowered. And I think that gets to the crux of some of the problems that we have right now. We don't feel listened to. We're the ones in here every day, and yet other people are making the decisions and we're not heard. And so having teacher leadership roles where we are heard and our voice matters can make a difference. And so from outside the teaching profession, this came from Barnett Berry in that piece, and it talked about a Gallup poll that only 30% of America's teachers say they're actively engaged in their jobs. And then even though the vast majority of teachers, like 53%, say they see teaching as their life's calling, like something that you're calling, but only 30% of us are actively engaged. It's talking about why that is. And so teachers scored dead last among 12 occupational groups in agreeing with the statement that their opinions count at work. So as it says, an increasingly discontented teacher workforce who feels disconnected from decisions relevant to their jobs is unlikely to be able to exercise the energy and enthusiasm to engage students in deeper learning. So when it gets down to it, is what's best for kids is that teachers feel heard and that their voices matter and they feel empowered. If everything is coming from the outside, here, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, teachers are not going to be intrinsically motivated to do what's necessary, what we know is necessary for kids to learn at that deeper level, which is what the 21st century is demanding of our students. So that's why teacher leadership is needed. How can we become teacher leaders? We can take on those roles. One thing that I thought was interesting is, this was from the Many Faces of Leadership. It talked about tall poppy syndrome, where sometimes it's hard for a teacher that is not given a formal role to take on a leadership role because it feels like someone else telling you what to do when they're at the same position you are. So the tall poppy basically gets mowed down to be level with everybody else. And that's where I find myself, because I've taught for, this is my 20th year, but this is my first year at this campus. And so I have a lot to learn. I am not in the position to be telling anyone else what should go on in their classroom. I'm glad to share, but until I'm given a formal role, that's just not going to happen here. So if and when I am given that formal role, again, and I have been department head and different things before that, but it's like I'm low man on the totem pole again. So I'm doing a lot of listening and learning. And I think that is key too, because I need to know all the ins and outs before I can get there. But if and when I have that formal role of being a teacher leader, I thought that it was really interesting, the stuff from Nell Nodding about caring, about authentic, natural caring versus ethical caring. Like, you're caring just because, instead of just because you ought to, you're caring because it's just what you are and why you're there. And so I think that that's key to being a teacher, really, in any case, but also to being a teacher leader, because if you're telling other people, or if you're giving constructive feedback and that sort of thing, then they need to know that it comes from a place of caring, not just this is what you ought to do, but I care about you, and this is how I can try to help you. And so I think that was really, really a great place to start on how do you build that trust? How do you build the relationship with someone before you get into this role? Now, then when it talked about feedback, which is something I struggle with, even with my students, when we're doing writing conferences and so forth, I always want to keep it positive, but there has to be that role of how am I going to help you grow? So, in writing, people tend to be very, they take it very personally. If you're too strong on that, this was what was wrong with it thing. And I think the same is true for teachers. Like if you're in a coaching role, I think you have to be very careful with that, because it's such a personal thing. It feels like it's a judgment against you, which it should not be. Going back to the caring, it's got to come from a place of I'm helping you. So I really thought the 6-step feedback thing was great, where you praise, you probe, and then you talk about the polish or the action step, and then you practice right there, and then plan ahead, prepare for review. I thought those videos were great to watch, to see that in action. So that really helped me, even thinking about just writing conferences with my students or my role as a teacher leader. So I know this video is a little long, so I'm going to cut it short, and I hope this has made sense, and I hope you're all having a great week. Thanks.